I'd like to invite now to come up to say a word Larry Walters from Wasserman and Walters, the law firm out of Orlando, well, I'll let him speak, but he's an attorney. He drove up from Orlando today to be with us, and I can't tell you how pleased I am.
That little ditty could end me in jail in the city of St. Augustine. That's how ridiculous this ordinance is that we're challenging. I'm Larry Walters. I practice law in Orlando and throughout the country doing First Amendment work. The ACLU is a good friend to us, and we do a lot of work together. We handle any kind of First Amendment issue, from protests to obscenity cases, indecent speech, and cases like this where unpopular groups are being picked on for their expression and their speech. We heard about this case. I got an email a few months back and couldn't believe what was going on in St. Augustine. I, like a lot of other tourists, went up to St. Augustine occasionally, enjoyed the street performers, saw nothing wrong with it, and read the email saying that at this point the city had, for some reason that escaped me at the time, determined them to be a traffic problem, pedestrian congestion problem, all kinds of asserted secondary effects from the street performers. And so this interested me because we represent a lot of other groups where they make these claims, and we looked into it more and more, and finally started to get a sense of what was going on there. This is obviously a politically motivated ordinance. I know that y'all have been fighting for a number of years that the last ordinance was declared unconstitutional. And what surprised me, I guess mostly, is that, and it quite honestly made me a little ashamed to be a lawyer, is that other lawyers just didn't run to your aid. Why was it that people just didn't jump to your defense? This seems like a clear-cut case to me. I think we've got some great legal arguments. We met with a number of individuals. We decided to represent an individual by the name of Larry Horton, who a number of you are familiar with, based primarily on the fact that he had not been charged with violating the ordinance, which is a precondition to getting into federal court. Otherwise, you're stuck with a problem called abstention, where the federal courts won't hear it because they say, well, the state court judges will be friendly enough to you. So what we did is filed a federal lawsuit, civil rights suit, in United States District Court, Middle District of Florida, right up here in Jacksonville. We've asked the court for an emergency injunction to try to get some relief. In the meantime, I understand people are still being arrested, custodial arrests. The city police have not backed down, even after we've put them on notice of the constitutional problems with this ordinance. And they're really setting themselves up for some serious false arrest, civil liberties deprivation suits by those of you who've been arrested. The ordinance at issue, I think a lot of you know what it says, but it is one of the broadest that I've ever seen. Prohibits any kind of playing musical instruments, acting, singing, pantomime, mime, magic, dancing, etc. And there's another ordinance that also prohibits any street performances anywhere without obtaining a license. We've challenged both of those ordinances, both the geographical restriction on St. George Street and the licensing ordinance. And we figured, yeah, I might as well knock them both out at the same time. The licensing ordinance has got some serious problems. They've, for, I don't know, maybe 40 years, the Supreme Court has said that any kind of ordinance that licenses speech or expression, where you have to get the permission of the government to speak, has to have procedural safeguards. There has to be some protection for the people who want to speak. They can't sit on a license application for an indefinite amount of time, because what that does is just simply restrain the speech. There has to be a way to get to court really quickly on this kind of licensing ordinance. If you want to set up a cement plant, yeah, they can think about it for a couple of months. Speech goes stale. For every moment that you're not speaking, it didn't happen. And so for these kinds of ordinances, certain things have to be there, like a definite time frame and a right to judicial review. It's not there. It's not there in the ordinance. So the city's got some real problems with this ordinance. For whatever reason, they've dug in their heels and they're insistent on, I guess, clearing the streets of the street performers. And when we knock this one out, it may be that we'll have to take them on again. But when we saw what was going on in St. Augustine, and we saw that no one else was really jumping on the fight, it was one that we couldn't resist. I can say that we get approached quite a bit by individuals who don't have money to fund the fight, the First Amendment civil rights battle in federal court. And we have to be very selective on what we do, otherwise we'd obviously be out of business if we represented everybody for free. But this was a case that I felt, and my partner David Wasserman felt, needed to be brought, and something needed to be done. We're in it for the long haul. If they pass another ordinance, we're there. We're going to put a stop to this, and quite frankly, you people, Les and Mr. Sweet and all of you, you are absolute freedom fighters. You are heroes, and everybody in this room should be proud of you. Yes?
What can be done to prevent the city, even if an injunction is obtained now, from coming back with something slightly different or trying to modify what the court found improper but still having a defect?
Well, there's absolutely no way that a lawyer or a judge or the federal court can stop the city from enacting ordinances. They will likely try to cure the ordinance. What we have found in trying to go after cities who have it in for our clients is that you need to hit them pretty hard financially. And you need to let the citizens know that their tax dollars are going to fund this personal battle, and that there's an award of maybe $20,000 in attorney's fees to those lousy First Amendment lawyers, and then the next time it's $40,000, and we've got to put a stop to this. At some point, the politicians will worry about their political careers. Mr. Cushman can probably back me up on that. The last thing that they want is a bunch of bad press about tax dollars going to pay for civil rights violations. And we found that if you hit them hard a couple of times financially and get some attorney's fee awards, that's what the civil rights statute is there for. It's there to punish these civil rights deprivations. And that's what we intend to do. We know that they were hit hard with, I don't know, it was about a $23,000 verdict last time. We intend to at least double that this time. We're going to put a lot of time in this case, as we're looking for a substantial attorney's fee award. And hopefully the papers will pick that up, and at some point the politicians will be more worried about their careers and the next people voting for them than they will about putting the street performers out of business. That's one of the ways that we have found that it works. But certainly nothing will stop them from passing a law, and they may try to do it again. But we have found that governments tend to tire of these kinds of fights. When they see that it's not working once or twice, it's not going to happen the third time. But there is a disturbing new trend that we have found in our practice by local governments to violate First Amendment rights, to do the wrong thing, to be more concerned about what the best political move is as opposed to upholding the Constitution, which they're sworn to do. It's very disturbing, and unfortunately even more disturbing is the fact that a lot of the federal court judges and state court judges will rubber stamp some of this unconstitutional legislation. And that's why it's more important than ever to become politically active, to get out and vote this time around. I can tell you that the Supreme Court's future and the future of the First Amendment is at stake in this election. If the conservatives appoint any more United States Supreme Court justices next term, the court will be stacked, and cases like this will be thrown out. They'll never listen. The city of St. Augustine police chief gets to decide on his own whether an individual is of sufficient moral character to be granted a street performer license. Just ludicrous. In any other country, we would be shocked by that. We'd be shocked that any other country did that. I personally can't believe that that got through, but apparently it was one of those ordinances that it included a lot of terms and nobody really read it carefully. And some of the ordinances back 20, 30 years ago used terms like that. Supreme Court over and over again have said that ordinances that use those kinds of vague terms to allow unbridled discretion to the governmental officials to decide who's entitled to a license and who isn't are all unconstitutional. Even for lawyers, there was a requirement that we be of good moral character. Thank God that's not there anymore. But we have pretty substantial background investigation these days. But the good moral character requirements are no longer valid. The Supreme Court doesn't recognize that. The bars don't use that standard anymore. It seems like in our research, the only people that use that is the city of St. Augustine for street performers. So it's a little disturbing that they're trying to cram this kind of legislation down the throats of people who are out there expressing their First Amendment rights. We intend to give them a battle. What we have done is, again, we filed a lawsuit. We've also asked for a temporary injunction. At this point, there has not been a ruling on the temporary injunction motion. These things are treated as a priority by the court, and it's not the kind of thing that's going to sit around for 2 years before it gets to trial, fortunately. When First Amendment rights are at stake, it is presumed that you're being irreparably injured, that this is a serious emergency for the federal courts. Most judges treat it pretty seriously, and we expect a ruling hopefully within a couple of weeks. I checked this afternoon to see if there was anything yet. And we're, again, hoping for a quick resolution of the constitutional issues. It may be that we'll have to take it up on appeal. Maybe that one of the street performer cases is going to be the next case decided by the United States Supreme Court on First Amendment rights. But again, we're in for the long haul. It's despicable what the city is doing to First Amendment rights and to street performers in particular. And again, I applaud those of you who have been willing to take the ticket, those of you who have been willing to subject yourself to litigation, to become plaintiffs, to get out in public and make enemies. That's what establishing First Amendment rights is all about. It's not for the wallflowers, it's for the unpopular speech. I mean, I use a comment all the time with the judges: if you're going to play the sound of music, you don't need the First Amendment. And it's for the rabble-rouser. And it's wonderful that you people are doing this and that we're able to make some good law and hopefully establish your right to continue to exercise your First Amendment rights. Yes, investigate the claim before you can get into court. The civil rights claims are usually a little quicker and cleaner, and you can go right to federal court on those. I think most people are waiting to see what happens in the federal suit before going forward on false arrest cases, so they don't have to try all those issues separately. Let us do the bulk of the work. Let us try to get a decent injunction and a First Amendment order in favor of the street performers, and then it's Katie bar the door on lawsuits because we're going to have a hard time arguing around a well-reasoned federal court order in state court. I know a number of the street performers are facing criminal charges. We have done the best we could to convince the judges in those cases to hold off on prosecuting those cases and going forward on a lot of them pending what happens in the federal court. A lot of the judges have been cooperative in that and have said, just let us know when the federal court does something so that we don't have a bad ruling from the state court that will be used against us in federal court. Some of the judges are going forward anyway. I think Les has got a trial coming up actually next week on this issue. So we're keeping our eyes open on that, but in short answer to your question, the easiest way is to hit them with an attorney's fee award and then go after them on civil rights violations. Yes, ma'am. Katie bar the door on lawsuits because we're going to have a hard time arguing around when that threat is made that insure cities. And you'll be interested to know that the vast majority of insurance policies do not cover the kind of action that we filed, and we're very specific. We don't sue for damages in these cases. We go after them for what's called equitable relief, injunctive relief, and declaratory relief. And the insurance companies say, well, there's no damages claim here, so I'm sorry we can't insure you. But the way around that is also we get a big attorney's fee award, and then they're on the hook for that. That's why we do it that way. On false arrest claims, they may have insurance, and it may not be as effective for that reason. But we're intending to seek payment from the taxpayer dollar, not because we want to increase taxes, but because that's the way to hit them, and that's where they get concerned about taxpayer rebellion.
It's been suggested that that in a case like this, the normal indemnity that, for instance, a city manager actually runs the police, the chief law enforcement officer.
Right.
So he has discretion. The police officers, they have some discretion, and normally they're indemnified. As I understand it, in a civil rights case, the indemnity could be lifted or not.
Yeah, exactly. There's something called qualified immunity that law enforcement officers enjoy in the typical case when you sue them for doing something wrong. And what they say is, I was just acting in the course of my employment, and I had the discretion to do this. Fortunately, in First Amendment cases, if you can show that the law was clearly established that this is unconstitutional, and that there was an ordinance that they should have known was unconstitutional, and by the way, all the press and the standing up and saying this is unconstitutional and holding up the First Amendment, all that helps for that very argument. To try to show that these police officers should have known that there was a little problem with this ordinance before they went forward and enforced it, then they have to pay out of their own pockets. That might not necessarily be as effective as hitting the city because you're punishing a police officer who's there on a $30,000 a year job, but it certainly doesn't look good for the city, and then they'll be going looking for indemnification from the city taxpayer dollars. If they get enough of those suits, then it'll be a problem. Naming the police officers personally is certainly an option for anybody who's been arrested, because I think that they should have known that the ordinance was unconstitutional, because again, for about 40 years now, the Supreme Court has said that there's certain things that have to be in the ordinance that aren't there. And by the way, it's not a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction, because there is no time, place, or manner that you can speak on St. George Street.
And then we'll go to Roger Jolly, and we'll finish up and have some questions and answers after Roger. Tom, would you like to come? Bushman is a St. Augustine attorney, First Amendment attorney. He's had experiences. He's defended some of these folks. and been successful at it.
Well, I know a good many of you. I would like to, let's get back to basics. I've had to explain this to the St. Augustine City Commission many times, but what we're talking about is a document that says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That covers a lot of ground. I believe sincerely there is a reason why it is the First Amendment. I'm somewhat of a fundamentalist when it comes to the Bill of Rights. I believe in all of it. And in the past 5 years, it's been my privilege and honor to represent a good many of the people you've heard about tonight. During the past 5 years, I've had the opportunity and the privilege to represent Roger Jolly, Larry Horton, Les Garcia, Jeff Mason, Scott Raimondo, and Jane Cole. I sometimes feel like a voice crying in the wilderness. We've sometimes had to explain the First Amendment to people who really ought to understand it, judges. Fortunately, I've had the opportunity to deal with people like Judge Richard Watson, who does understand the First Amendment, and Judge Charles Tinlin, who also understands it. There's been one or two others who didn't quite get it, but eventually we got it explained to them, and they understood that the right of free expression is protected by the First Amendment. The City Commission has not been so quick to pick up on it. After I represented Roger Jolly and we eventually overturned Ordinance 22-6, the original street performance ordinance, the mayor said, well, you know, we didn't mean to violate the Constitution, we just didn't understand. And in 1995, I was willing to say, well, okay, now you know. What's their excuse in 1998 when I represented Larry Horton on another ordinance of where they equated sale of art to the sale of pots and pans on the street. Again, we had to explain the First Amendment to the City Commission. Again, they lost. And as a result, when they regrouped, they came back and passed the new ordinances. Do they now take the same position that they still don't understand the First Amendment? Fortunately, there's at least one attorney on the commission who does. She's running for mayor. And part of what I'd like to emphasize to you is that there is a solution to this. Let's elect some people who do understand. There's a way to do that. The bitterness on St. George Street, the war against art and music has gone too far. It's time to put a stop to it. It's time to heal the wounds and understand that the streets and the parks, as the cases say, from time immemorial, have been a public forum. Whether the city likes it or not, whether the shopkeepers like it or not, and they're not all against music and art. Some of them do understand, but you don't hear about them. And so I say, let's find a political solution. We beat them in court when we have to, but if we can elect people who understand that when they're elected, they take an oath. They take an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And as far as I'm concerned, that means the First Amendment. When they take their hand and swear to God they're going to defend it, I think we should hold them to it. I'm a fundamentalist. That's the way I see things. Thank you.
I'm being arrested for what? Just explain. I'm going to walk really nicely, but you won't say what? But I'm dressed historically, and it's playing historical music. I don't understand. I'm not collecting tips even. Wait, I need my purse. That's personal thing. My ID's in it. That's fine. Okay. My purse is in her basket. Oh, wait, leave this here. Goodbye, cruel world. Goodbye.
Did you arrest any drug dealers tonight?
No, they don't have time.
Wake up, there's drug dealers. Go get them. Take them away. Leave the musicians alone. They're pleasing people. They're doing positive things. Hello?
They're going around to pick up junk droppings.
Misdemeanor?
So they can pick you up. They can pick you up without reading your rights, throw you in the back of a squad car for a misdemeanor. But if you're a criminal, they got to read you your rights. And that's something.
Well, that seems like what it is.
Yeah.
They didn't read her anything.
The lady was just playing, no tips, no tip bucket. I told Judge Tenlin Friday about it, and he said that I could play out here if I didn't play for tips as far as he knew in the ordinance, but he'd have to read the ordinance again. Now they've come, Janine wasn't playing for tips, and they've taken her off to jail. They walked up, let's go, didn't read her rights, didn't handcuff her, threw her in the car, and out of here. You saw it, we all saw it. It was kind of a very poor way of handling law enforcement, if you ask me.
Did she refuse to sign the citation?
They didn't ask her.
They didn't ask her to. They didn't even give her.
Oh, they didn't give her, and then that label will not give her a citation.
Definitely. I've never seen anybody just picked up and throw in the car that quick without doing a police check and everything.
Where's her purse? Is it in here? She was worried about her purse.
Excuse me, sir.
Forgot this swastika.
Yeah, how can an elderly man be dangerous?
How could a musician...
Isn't he a disabled vet?
How could
I
a
know he's a
musician
vet.
playing a violin harm somebody?
They make people happy and that gets the law here in town.
Say hi to Hitler.
Video at 10. At 10 it's news, at 11 it's history. And it is history.
Save a seat for Scott. Roger, you missed it. Alright, they got your name, too. Who else? In the courtroom, it looked like our lawyer really knew what he was talking about, Mr. Wiseman. And from my side of the whole thing, I would say that the other lawyer was not quite as good as ours and not as informed on everything as ours. And I would say, from my viewpoint, that we won the injunction and it's just a matter of a few days before we're back on the street legally.
Great. All right. You're Ralph Hayes.
Ralph Hayes. I have a license.
The last city license.
Last city
Turn around, let me
license
shoot that
in
license.
St. Augustine, which I was informed that I paid the $50, got a police check. Then they told me I didn't need one. I went up 2 weeks ago to get it renewed, and they said that they didn't renew them anymore. Here comes the police.
Oh, okay. But they hadn't published that, is that right?
No, no.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thanks, Ralph.
sir?
What are you doing?
Just playing a little song here.
Okay, I'm going to give you a warning.
All right.
You're in violation of city ordinance 22-6.
All right.
I'm going to ask that you willfully comply with the ordinance and your private property or one of the other designated areas.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
So what happened?
The officer gave me a warning, a verbal warning, and asked me to go play on other property. So I will take the warning and do it.
You're going to take the warning?
Yep.
Okay,
At
Ralph.
this time, yep.
Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, thank you.
You were just playing.
Yeah.
Now you're quitting?
Well, I'm going to play, but I'm demonstrating. There's a difference. It has to be up to the discretion of the officer whether I'm entertaining or demonstrating.
I see.
You know.
So
I'm demonstrating.
You're gonna demonstrate now?
Yeah, this is a demonstration about the rights of the people. I'm really not performing. It's up to the discretion of the officer to determine whether I'm performing or demonstrating or entertaining. I would like to know the difference. So today we were in court at the federal court in Jacksonville. It's Judge Anderson, and he seemed to appear that this ordinance was vague, and it left too much up for the discretion of the officers to determine whether I'm performing or playing, or just being a nuisance. Now, I've already got one citation. But I'll sing this song here in honor of the people who died, gave their lives for the freedom of our country. Anybody here see my old friend Abraham? Can you tell me where he's gone? Freed a lot of people, yeah, well, but it seems the good they die young. I looked around, he was gone. Freed a lot of people, yeah, well, but it seems the good they die young. I looked around, he was gone. I've seen a great miscarriage of justice in this community by our city commissioners. And I've stood beside my friends and watched them go to jail for expressing and standing up for our rights. And every time I turn around, someone's trying to knock us down, calling the police on us. Our officers have much better things to do than stopping somebody from spreading love and joy and happiness. It's been confusing for everybody. Thought I saw him walking over the hill. Abraham, Martin, John. Oh, now didn't you just love them for the things that they stood for? Try to find some good, you and me, so we'd be free. Yeah. Someday we're gonna be. That's right, folks. But I am demonstrating, making aware, everybody realize the difference between entertaining and demonstrating is you have to specify the difference. Thanks. Homer Lee was Homer Lee, Homer. How's that song?
Today they said
Not a word. You let the other guy do it.
Doug, come here.
That's his job.
I just wanted to ask you, what do you think of today's results, man?
That's the Santa Claus. They make more sense to me.
I
don't know what to think, you know. I don't know. I think it looks good. I think we'll be back on the street shortly.
think so.
Yeah.
You're not going to be here this evening for the Freedom Fest?
No, I'm going to go home.
I don't blame you. You work hard.
I do. I work very, very hard.
Your hands doing all right?
These Santa Clauses do not carve themselves.
I hear you. All right, Doug. Thanks.
All right.
North and south.
All right. They don't like your kind here either, huh?
I'll tell you what, I can care less.
I might just pack up anyway. No say. Slow.
Without hesitation that there is a substantial threat, the plaintiff will suffer irreparable harm if an injunction is not issued, that the threatened injury to him outweighs any injury an injunction will cause the city of St. Augustine, and that granting the injunction is not against public interest. Street performances are a form of expression protected by the 1st and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution. This is by Henry Lee Adams, U.S. District Judge. Long live the Constitution.
Thank you for that, Les. Thank you. Now, listen, everybody listen up, listen up. It will not be official until the city is served. It may be Monday, it could be Tuesday. Listen, the party comes tomorrow because Mr. Wasserman will be here tomorrow with a copy of the injunction on this street.
What time?
By dinner time.
All right, let mayhem and circusality reign. Oh, wait a minute.
I gotta go get the
The injunction has been granted.
Injunction! Tell your buddies, Les.
I did already. Oh, this is so good. Oh, the injunction has been granted. We can sing, and we can dance, and we can be like circus people. Yeah!
How about like free people?
Free people, yes. Isn't this cool? Yeah.
Well, that's the only good news I've heard in weeks, so I'm glad that's something.
Hey, Eva!
Inclusive. And you are.
The AMFAB band, the Activated Motivated First Amendment Blues Band, Larry Horton.
Larry Horton, back from?
Well, it's my hometown.
I know, but you've been away. You're back now?
Oh, yes. I've been all the way up to Montreal this summer. I've been on the road for 5 months.
Well, I hope I was just the first to tell you that the injunction in your lawsuit sought by Wasserman and Walters has been granted as of 6 o'clock today. That's the news.
All right. I'm really happy about that. Yay, yes.
We couldn't be happier to have you back in town. Now you're going to play a little bit.
Yeah, I might as well try.
All right.
Our second people. Come here.
Hey. All right, it's time to jam with the AMFAB band, the Activated.
The injunction come through. We're out on the street again.
All right. All you need is it doesn't matter what you have, as long as you are there. Here we got everywhere around the world is a dance. Take it to the street. There's an indication to me. We can't walk for me. Baby records playing.
Jane, the injunction's granted.
This is what the court for.
Wasserman will be here tomorrow with the coffee.
I yelled at his name. I yelled at his name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Injunction is granted.
Larry, let her sing Amazing Grace and we'll get everybody to sing. All right. You can jump right back in. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Can the shop owners and keepers hear us up there? Thank you. We're all going to sing Amazing Grace. Now everybody join in if they want to. Yeah.
I was
us another song here?
Give them a history. Give them a history.
This is a night of celebration. For the past 6 months, the mayor and the commissioners, all except wonderful Susan Burke, have been trying to get rid of all the musicians and all the artists in St. Augustine. A wonderful lawyer by the name of Wasserman from Orlando came forward and said, I'm going to defend these people because the city is taking away their First Amendment rights. We want our First Amendment rights to be taken away from us.
They're coming back now. They all had to go and make a living.
We want freedom in St. Augustine. Yes! Anyway, to make a long story short, there was a court case. All of these artists, all of these people, guys who were sent to jail, raise your hand. I have a court case. I was. He was sent to jail.
First one, Doug.
People for making wooden Santa Clauses.
Right over there, they are for sale still.
I mean, isn't that something you want to send somebody to jail for? Of course, the drug dealers and the robbers and burglars are running all around town, but the cops were busy arresting this man for making wooden Santa Clauses. Another one arrested me for drawing pictures. Another one arrested all of these people for playing music. Well, this wonderful lawyer, Wasserman from Orlando, came forward and he said, I am going to defend these poor people. And he went to court, and anyway, he won an injunction, and we are, as of tomorrow, we're sort of free tonight, we are going to be free to sing and dance, so please join us.
God bless America.
Woo! Please sing with us, because this freedom is for all of us.
God bless America.
If they take away my freedom, they take away your freedom. Sing, we're going to sing God Bless America.
Yeah. Right. You don't know how to play that one.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, Lord, we are.
Hi, Judy.
Dancing in the street, playing in the street, doing art in the street.
They still could be tonight, so be warned.
Do anything that requires expression, you can be arrested. I was arrested on the 27th of March. Doug has been arrested twice.
Jane Cole.
All the other ones have left out.
All right, we're still getting set up, so I'll make a little noise here. sort of pushing for us. He's running for office, and we'd like to have him say a few words while he's here. Mr. Roger Jolly.
Hi, everybody. Glad all y'all could be out here today, or those who are walking by. This is an opportunity that you might have a chance to tell maybe your children about. Today, just a few hours ago, the judge told the city for, let's see, this is the second time a federal judge has told the city that what they're doing is unconstitutional. So,
They must be Democrats.
today, the Constitution of the United States was upheld as the law of the land in St. Augustine. The first city with a First Amendment victory for everybody. And what's important here is that this sends a clear message. My opponent, Mr. Lennon, has voted against artists and musicians since 1990 when he first went on the board. In this election, in just a few weeks, we have a chance, if those we know come out and vote, we have a chance to say, we don't want to do it that way anymore. This is the sixth judgment against the city on this issue. 6 judges have said this is unconstitutional. We don't want a 7th try at this approach. So today is a historic moment because from today on, the forces against free speech, who believe that the government has a right to suppress free speech and your right to hear who you want to hear. I used to come out here and play for my little friends, and I don't do it anymore. I haven't done it in several years. I could have sued this city in 1995. I was raised differently. There's nothing wrong with doing that if there's no other choice. I'm not criticizing. It got us where we are today. But I believe that you change things by running for office, by voting, by getting involved with your government, and because here's the thing. We're not supposed to serve this institution. It's supposed to serve us. But there's some responsibilities that go with that, because then we have to pay attention, and when they do something we don't like, at the very least, we owe it to ourselves to say, this can't stand, I have to do something, my government's doing something I strongly disagree with. Now, it might just be a letter and a few phone calls, some talks with your friends, but you're doing something about something that's wrong, and it's something meaningful. And I guess that's another victory for today. Just a few people who absolutely won't back down from the stand on principle can change things in our government today. Judge Adams has empowered us. Thank y'all for being here. Larry Horton is the man of the hour. Right on. Hey, I haven't had a chance to do this. Right on, my brother. This is the man who got the injunction to turn over the ordinance and stop them from enforcing it. I think we owe him a warm round of applause.
This really wasn't me. This was a kind gentleman from Winter Park, Florida named David Wasserman. He stepped forward to take this into his own hands. And I told him I'd work with him any way he wanted to do it. And he must be a pretty sharp guy because it's turned out very well for us.
I just have a quick word. I have an announcement to make. And even though the injunction is in, and I can come out here and play music and make my food money and my rent money again after 5 years, this newspaper is still banned in this city. There's an ordinance on the books that the police can enforce anytime against any artist selling their works, even though the injunction includes a definition that an artist selling his or her work under the injunction is allowed again. Ordinance 2009 2009 bans this newspaper, which is how we ended up in federal court in the first place. The city confiscated the first edition of this newspaper 25 minutes after it hit the street. This edition right here is the latest. It has the entire story. It's very funny. It's very light. And it contains all the essential material. If you can get your hand on one of these, I highly recommend it. I'm not playing on the street.
When you go to play the Licking County Polka.
I can't sell it to you, but you can read it. What do you mean read it? I'm making a copy right now.
And that feels good. I haven't felt this good in 6 months, I'll tell you. You know, I mean, there's sometimes I've really been down. Because it's pretty bad when you can't go down the street and play music without going to jail. And pretty heartbreaking. There's a lot of things to be said about someone who's creative, and when you can express your creativity in public, you know, people see it and creativity grows, and it's a seed. You plant a seed like the one-man band or whatever, and the little kid sees the one-man band playing, and he says, look, then he gets creative himself. Once I remember seeing a little boy who followed Jeff, the one-man band, around, and he was walking around like this, looking up at that one-man band, and just amazed. He wasn't but that tall. And you wonder what kind of creative mind he'll come up with when he grows up. Who knows? He might invent a car that runs on air. You never know. If you can make somebody happy, help somebody smile, bring this world together, you'll be satisfied. Somebody happy, help somebody smile, or lift a heart that's lonely, it'll make it worth your while. If you can give someone the will to live and get back up and try, or bring two hearts together, you'll be satisfied.
So you think they might still like bust the artists, or?
Right, the vendors, and they put artists in 2 ordinances. So you can display your artwork, but you can't sell it on the street.
Understand. Okay. Well, it's weird, and I hope it changes soon. We'll stay on top of it.
Yeah, they'll have to fight that one too. You know, that'll cost them a lot more money.
I'm sure.